Hi everybody, I'm Justin Harriman, and this is my much better half. I'll let her introduce herself.
I'm Renee.
So we are from the beautiful Black Hills of South Dakota. We have both been paddling a long time. I don't want to date myself, so I won't say how long. I'm a American Canoe Association certified kayak and canoe instructor. I'm vice president of our West River contingent, the Black Hills Paddlers, and I did help our dear departed friend Kelly Lane write the Paddler's Guide to the Black Hills.
And I'm also an American Canoe Association kayak and paddleboard instructor. I'm the owner and operator of Black Hills Paddle Sports and Bicycles and Boats based out of Hill City. And then I also fill in and work as an adjunct professor now for Black Hills State University, teaching their intermediate kayak and river canoeing classes. So it's a little bit about us.
All right, and today we're gonna probably feature our adventure squad, as we like to call it, our family. We have three daughters who are all now teenagers, and are reluctant participants in many of the things that we love to do. Renee and I both really love to paddle, and when we met, we decided that we had to introduce the girls to this sport of dipping a blade in the water, and they've come a long ways.
I would say they're not as enthusiastic about paddling as Justin and I are, but they have been great participants in joining us on our adventures. So we've learned a few things along the way. And for the most part, they do now enjoy paddling, and they tolerate going on trips with us. So.
Tolerate, I mean, geez, I'm 16 and I have to go to Costa Rica for a week over spring break. Oh, my life is so hard. But their names are Emma, our oldest, Isabel in the middle, the tallest, and then Lily, our youngest. And Emma is going to be 18 here in a couple weeks. They grow up way too fast. Izzy will be 17, and Lily just recently turned 13. So they're all getting older and more capable on the water. And you'll see on the right side, Isabel, Renee, and I completed the South Dakota Kayak Challenge the last year that they ran the race, and Isabel is the youngest finisher, and she will hold that title forever, because we won't be doing that anymore.
That was last year of the kayak challenge, so she was 12 at the time.
And we had a really good time, and she is very proud of the door prize she walked away with. So, and we do have an emotional support crew that we definitely like to call out. We have a teacup pig. His name is Floyd. So if you're friends with us on Facebook or you follow Renee's shop, you occasionally see pictures of the Floydster. He's our chief mischief maker and quality control agent.
And no longer fits in a teacup.
And then this summer we adopted a senior rescue dog. Her name's Allie, and she's a lab random mix. So we got her a doggy flotation device, and she's a big fan of paddling with us. So we hope to have a lot more adventures with her this summer. And then in memorial of our dog Loki, who was a reluctant participant, and we miss. I know Pat and I have spent some time chasing her around the woods before. So, all right. So we'll talk today about where we've been. We obviously started in the lakes of the Black Hills. We did some nice little starter trips on moving water on the Arkansas River down the Salida, Luna Vista area in Colorado. The kayak challenge, which we talked about. And then we've taken a few trips on the Grand and Green Rivers in the Moab, Canyonlands area. And then we'll show you some pictures from our Costa Rica adventures. All right, so what have we learned? This is probably the most important lesson as a instant family dad in adopting or acquiring three daughters, growing up with just brothers. I've had to learn a few things myself. One of those is, which I'm not great at. Renee's the queen of letting go and going with the flow and letting it happen. I'm an engineer. I like things to be planned and prepared. That does not work with children. So that has been a serious change for me. We'll talk about mandatory fun, because that's always an important topic.
say the next one is our 80-20 rule. Food is good, food is important. And lastly, river people are the best. So those are some of the things that we'll talk about.
All right. So obviously let go and go with the flow is super important. When you're paddling with a family, when you're paddling with kids, like I said, you have to be prepared to not be in control. We all know the river is the boss when we're out on the water. We don't control it. We're just going along with the flow and doing what the river dictates. One of the biggest lessons was really to start small. As we're introducing kids to paddling, a 3-day multi-river portage Boundary Waters trip is probably not the place to start, but you know, a couple hours hanging out at Iron Creek Lake, racing Patrick around in a little sit on top is a great place to start. We got a small sit on top, inexpensive Lifetime kids kayak with a kid-sized paddle, an appropriately sized PFD, and that was a great place to get the girls comfortable with moving the boat through the water, moving themselves around. I referred to Racing Pat. He came out a couple of years ago, and Isabel and he and I paddled around Iron Creek Lake where we have a cabin and had a lot of fun. It was entertaining to watch Pat. He has a tiny little kid's paddle in his QCC, and we definitely had a good way to get the girls started. I'm a big fan of moving water, so we did some simple moving water trips. I think guided rafting trips are probably the best place to get kids started on whitewater. What do you think?
Yeah, so after, spending some time in the hills and camping and just having fun at the area lakes, we ended up doing a family vacation down to Colorado. And one of the activities that was available for us was to do some whitewater rafting. And so we decided to do that in the morning. They enjoyed it so much that we ended up doing a second trip that day. And that kind of ignited their passion for joining us on some of these adventures and allowed us to plan in the future and come up with some additional trips. So.
And the fun part of that day for me was our youngest Lily was pretty scared of the moving water. It was one of the biggest days, just melt-wise on the river that year. We have impeccable timing when it comes to weather. And so we started out with her and I in the back of the raft. She was on the bottom, was not going anywhere, was very, very timid and concerned. About halfway through the run, because it's the small town run on Salida, so it's about an hour float, and it's class 3 only. She was almost standing up in the raft, yelling at the guide, more, bigger, hit it, come on, and just like yelling.
It's weak. So.
Because she wanted bigger waves. And then the second trip, when we ran through the same run the second time, she actually sat on the bow the entire time, riding the bull, and wouldn't let anybody else have the front of the raft. She insisted that was her spot the rest of the run. That's mine. And I think we ignited a little passion there. So, a picture here from our trip on the Green River through Utah and the Canyonlands. It was a little windier and chillier than we expected. Definitely learned a few things about logistics there. Really important to not set your expectations about how many miles you're going to make in the first or second day when you're paddling with a family, because you're not going to make the miles that you will as individuals. I think we made 6 miles that day, paddling most of the day because we had a 30-mile-an-hour headwind. And there was a little trauma.
Yes, which leads us into our next slide.
So,
I think. Or one of the next slides. Our next talking point.
Yeah, and just so I love to compare and contrast here. This is Lily. You can see from our trip to Salida, we're in the back of the raft. She's a little timid, and then when we made it to Costa Rica, she's now a full-on river junkie there, having a good time celebrating the mud on the Pequari River. So let's talk about my favorite topic, mandatory fun. We've totally banned this phrase from our river trips because wishing the group mandatory fun is going to make the river gods less than happy, and they're not going to give you the best experience.
So on this trip, this was on our Green River trip, which we did in 2020?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had, it was a mixed group of different family and friends. There's a total of 15 of us, ages 6 to 76. A couple in the group were active or former military, so as soon as Justin said mandatory fun, it was like, no! What did you just do to us? And, the morning started out great. We had great calm waters, but by mid-afternoon we had 30-mile-an-hour headwinds ripping through the canyon, 3-foot white-cap waves that we were trying to paddling through. And as you can see, our group dynamic was age 6 to 76. Most people were in canoes. I was on an expedition-sized paddleboard, which 30-mile-an-hour headwinds with 3-foot waves that you're trying to paddle into on a paddleboard with your youngest in front was challenging. So she got permission to say whatever curse words she wanted. And there was a promise of
chocolate chip banana pancakes at Denny's
when we got off the river. So I just needed her to keep paddling. So she was a good sport about that. But yeah, so we've learned to say no more mandatory fun.
Those words are banned from my mouth. I only get to say it at this presentation. No more.
Also that night, so the winds really never died down that evening. And we made it to a sandbar and we're trying to set up camp and everything. And Lily had pretty much cashed in all of her fun tickets, which we'll talk about here in a moment. But you know, we advised her just go chill in the tent. We got it set up. We're getting dinner ready. Everybody's doing the best that they can. And, one of those winds came through and just about flew her away in the tent. So whenever we do get big wind gusts and stuff, she has a little bit of PTSD and gets the shudders. So yeah, 3 types of fun. There's class 1 fun, class 2 fun, and class 3 fun, which kind of go in the opposite of when you're thinking about fun. So a good friend of ours who's a raft guide and has worked all over the country kind of shared us in on that, and we definitely experienced some type 3 fun that day. So
Type 3 fun is a lot of fun about 3 weeks later, as you're sitting around the table, hoisting beverages and,
Like, oh my God,
reminiscing
needs to
about
buy.
the fun you had. Type 1 fun is fun in the moment. So Type 2 fun is usually fun that evening around the campfire as you're hoisting beverages.
and fun tickets. Everybody typically has a couple fun tickets, and when they've cashed in their fun tickets, they're ready to be done for the day. So.
One of the critical things with kids is making sure that you've got expectations and an exit egress plan. If those fun tickets are cashed with the kids for the day, you got to have a way to let them sit in the boat and do nothing while you paddle through the headwinds. So, and some great pictures from our trip. We're paddling the Quarry River in Costa Rica. You can see the lady who's starting to tip there. That's Renee's mom, my mother-in-law, Andrea. And Abuela went for a class 4 swim that day.
She now can say that she is an international class 4 swimmer. Not too many things that abuelas can say.
Yeah, and totally 100% safe. Walked away with not a scratch on her. The guides at the bottom picked her up, and she had a great time. We've got a great story and some good photos of that.
She understands the word high side much better now.
She's a big fan of the high school.
She was just saying, peace out. I'm ready to, I'm done with this group. I'm out of here.
And she did not lose her paddle. She had it, and the
No,
guys
she
were
had-
really proud of her.
Excellent form. So
And on our Green River trip here, you can see Miss Emma wearing Mom's puffy skirt as a additional supplementary.
she was looking very Gucci that day, is what we call it. Emma was having some class 2 fun. We have discovered that fall paddling trips are more preferred than spring paddling trips because it is quite chilly. I think most mornings on our Green River trip, we woke up to like ice in our boats and that kind of stuff. So she had on all the layers and was looking pretty fly there, but
And we did have a minor canoe malfunction, 20-year-old Royal X that sat in the sun too long, probably not the boat that you want to take on a family paddle trip.
yeah, so in the picture in the upper corner there, we had to do some boat repair, and that was on our first day as well. We discovered that we had a good sized crack about that far going down our canoe. So.
Raft Guides, Aqua Seal, duct tape, magical combination. So, I believe I still owe Ben about 3 beers for that one. All right. So, the 80-20 rule is something that we developed that I think makes a lot of sense. It's something more critical for me than for Renee. She's a much calmer person than I am. Really, the reality is we've got to roll back those expectations. When she and I did was supposed to be a Green River trip, but the water didn't allow for us to actually, the ground was too wet, so we ended up doing the Colorado or Grand River instead, above the confluence. And we basically would spend 3 to 4 hours a day paddling, set up camp, and then have time to go hike and explore. On our family trip, we got on the water 2 to 2.5 hours later than I would have initially hoped for.
Because it was cold and everything was iced over. So.
And you gotta get kids moving, and thank goodness for coffee. And then we would paddle, 4 to 5 hours a day, make the same amount of miles that we would make, she and I, on an adult trip in 2 to 3 hours, and then set up camp. And we did not have a ton of time for exploring, but the reality is the kids had as much fun just setting up camp, paddling, exploring around the campsite, playing trash can baseball.
Yep, as did our friends who had never been on a river trip before too, so their expectations were pretty low. It was just kind of more your expectations, because he planned on doing all this hiking and everything, and it can get to be a little frustrating if things aren't quite lining up that way. So about 80% of what you have planned, 20% will actually happen. So if you can go into a trip with those expectations, it just makes it more enjoyable all around. So.
And one of the highlights of the trip was, as you see here, our picture, we had a really cool lunch spot where we were able to kind of pull in on the corner, get out of the wind, hang out on these big rocks, saw some petroglyphs up in the corner, and the kids had as much fun at that 45-minute lunch spot in the sun as they did anywhere else on the river. I was just like, cool, this is lunch, and the girls, it's like one of the highlights of the trip for them. So those expectations that we have as adults are something we got to put on the shelf when we paddle with our family, and they're going to have a lot more fun. So, and take time to do some crazy fun things. When we were paddling in Costa Rica with our guides, we're in a section of the Pequari River where it's basically a big slow spot, and Lily decided to jump on one of our safety kayakers' boats, and one of the other guides, Luigi, on the front, decided to do the same. So here they're rodeoing Jonathan's boat
To see if they could roll him over, and he did pretty good actually.
Jonathan's got some solid edge control. He's a good boater. And we've got our friend Thea. She's 6, and Lily hanging out on Renee's paddleboard.
This was when we got pulled into an eddy or an alcove during those 30-mile-an-hour winds, and the rest of the group had proceeded to paddle on, so we were just kind of stuck there. Luckily, Justin and the person in his canoe came back to help Lily and I, but as you can see, she's a little cashed out there. So.
And we still have a mile to go before we have a place to camp, so her fun tickets are expired. But fortunately, we were able to motivate her with some chocolate and get her going for the rest of the day.
Yep. And then that other picture was in Costa Rica. So at this point, I don't know, we're about midway through our trip. We had already rafted into the Eco Lodge that we were going to be staying at for a couple of days. And people were tired. I think Lily had indulged in too much pineapple and fresh strawberries, so she was having a little bit of a allergic reaction that we'll show you a picture of here in a little bit. And Isabel, the one looking at us, you can just tell by her expression, she's saying, nope.
Leave me alone, don't take pictures, I'm good.
So that day was just a good day to relax and chill, and we adjusted our plans a little bit and made sure everybody was feeling comfortable. So.
All right. And one of my biggest rules when we're taking river trips is food is important. You can fix a lot of things with good food, and that was one of the things that we really discovered on our big group trip is we planned group dinners, so we had multiple families that were doing the trip, and so every family took one dinner and planned food for the entire group. And to be honest, we ate like kings. We had shepherd's pie, we had amazing curry, we had, gosh, what else did we have? I can't remember. Like rice and chicken, and at the end of the day, we were all a little cold, but if you fill those bellies with good food, you make sure you bring a solid dessert, everyone's gonna have a good time. We get to sit around the campfire. We found a campfire popcorn maker, which I gotta say for family paddling trips, since you're not backpacking, especially if you've got a canoe wrapped and you have room, it's kind of magic. Popcorn on the river around the campfire will put a smile on everyone's face, and very good time for that. I would also say that I like to call it magic bean water in the morning, but good coffee for us adults is really important. Our friend Tara makes pretty fantastic coffee and roast coffee, so she was in charge of coffee, and that really can change the mornings and help people get going. Highly recommend the AeroPress. It's small, it's compact, and it makes really good magic bean water. So if you don't have one, I don't get paid to say that they're great, but they really are a fantastic tool for the river.
And the other thing that we discovered, but we did not put on the slide because we're promoting family paddling, but a designated bartender is also a great addition to any river trip. So luckily our good friend who's a dirtbag paddler also in the off season sometimes works as a bartender, and so he was in charge of every night making sure that at dinner time we all had cocktails. So
and we had a cocktail of the night, and having your dirtbag raft guide bartender friend be in charge of cocktails is a solid move. So power move there. So, and the other thing is, keep it comfortable, keep it good. We definitely have eaten well on our trips. Just an example of on our Costa Rica trip, what we got supplied. Solid food is definitely going to put a smile on everyone's face, and you can't go wrong with extra chocolate. The other thing is you got to hide the snacks from the youngest one, because she might potentially eat everyone's trail mix on day 2.
yeah, she was taking everyone's good stuff out of their trail mix, and then at takeout, we all discovered that she still had her trail mix. So the rest of the people in the group were like giving her a hard time for sure. So, and then dinner by candlelight is always just something cool and special. So.
Absolutely. And throwing it in here, because this is always incredibly important when you're on river trips, a solid place to poop with a good view is really important. And so we definitely try to find a good place to put the groover. If you're not familiar with what the groover is, when you're doing your river trips, you gotta put your solid waste and pack it out. So it really is nice to have a good place to park the groover, so you get a sunrise or sunset when you're doing your business. So.
And kids love talking about it. So.
Yeah, there's a whole book about it, and I've got about 60 jokes, and solid dad jokes about river duty. So, and the other tip is rent one from the outfitter so you don't have to clean it yourself. Worth every dollar. So, and our last, because we're gonna stay on time, is River People Are the Best. As you all know, we're kind of a little family here in our paddling community, and we've made some pretty amazing friends around the country, around the world, and are fortunate to have a great group of people to hang out with. And I know we have a good story here with Lily getting a selfie, so I'll let Renee share that.
I was gonna actually say that top picture is not only are river people the best people, but also, you know, your support crew is critical too. My mom, Emma, and Lily there, they were our support crew when Justin, Isabel, and I did the South Dakota Kayak Challenge. So there was one time where we baptized our boat on Takeout 2, and they did an awesome job of running into town and getting us a bag of rice, because I don't think I had my phone in a waterproof bag, and made sure we had all the goods and stuff that we needed. But
We came in a little hot. It was the year the river was spry, into checkpoint 2, and a pretty fast, less than stable Jensen canoe. I kind of forgot to tell everyone what to do since I was in the stern. We bumped a log a little faster than expected. Izzy got a little excited and stood up, and you know, standing up in a Jensen is not the best way to keep it dry. So she baptized. We got to do a little swamp exercise and get her dried out, and got back on the river and made our way. We still finished in like 12 and a half hours. Hey, we would have been 11 if it wasn't for the checkpoint 2 adventure. So.
And then the picture on the bottom, that was, so when we were in Costa Rica, we got the full experience. And always just be prepared for the unexpected, because it'll happen. But as I mentioned, our youngest, Lily, was overindulging in all the fresh fruit, the pineapple, mangoes, strawberries, to the point where she was starting to break out in a rash and swelling up just a little bit, not to the point of having like anaphylaxis or anything, but it was the day that we were going to be paddling on the Macquarie River into the Eco Lodge, and would be remote for a couple of days. So definitely worth having someone check her out before we were out of civilization there for a little bit. So our raft guide there helped us navigate going to the doctor's office and working with the doctor there. And as you can see, he's just super fun and down to earth. And not only did he want to get a selfie with Lily, but so did the doctor as well. So they made it a fun experience for her, and she still talks about that to this day.
She's proud of having taken a selfie with the doctor in Costa Rica. So, and you can see the picture of Lily at the end there is our last day on the river as we're rafting out. And she was good. She had a good time. We're making some, got some love in the hair there.
Probably.
So that's what we want to present today. Keep it easy, keep it light. We appreciate you letting us indulge our family adventures, and you know, we've begrudgingly gotten our kids involved in our paddling adventures. A couple weeks ago, our middle daughter Izzy mentioned to me that she'd like to do a race this summer. So apparently it's stuck, and pretty proud of the fact that we've got three girls that like to put us on the water. 2 of them more than the oldest, but they all do enjoy it.
I was gonna say, Emma enjoys paddleboarding probably the most. Isabel is kind of she likes kayaking, canoeing, and paddleboarding. Lily is very much into whitewater and having that big comfy raft around her. So.
And the 2 oldest actually work for Renee in the summers at Bicycles and Boats. So if you come visit us in Hill City, you get to meet them. And I think Lily will even be there doing some lawn mowing and boat washing as well.
Yep.
So, and if you're up for an adventure, Renee does do. So this is our advertising section. We do guided trips to Costa Rica. Our next one is in October 2023. They're reasonably priced, very affordable, all-inclusive, and honestly a ton of fun. I know Dave's crew is going to be going with us in 2024, so we'd love to have you come check out probably the best experience I've ever had international travel.
And it's not just all paddling, so we do multi-sport adventures, from waterfall rappelling to zip lining to cooking lessons with the local moms, and some cultural dinners and experiences like that. So
If you like coffee, you can't beat the coffee and the chocolate.
If you've never been to Costa Rica and you want to go outside the country, you've got to go. I've been there twice and we're going a third. So.
yeah,
So
we fell in love with the place. It's just awesome. The people are so friendly and down to earth, and
we felt safe the entire time. The thing that were set in the rock. Those pins were less than a year old. Everything was incredibly safe. The ropes were all double checked. I would say that it exceeds most of the safety standards on anything we've done here in the States. And the raft guides are better than most of the raft guides that we've experienced in Colorado.
Yeah, they're phenomenal, so.
Luigi and Juan and Jonathan, I would paddle with them any day, all day. Read the water better than most of the guys that we paddle with in Colorado. Honestly, they're a ton of fun, and they can all sling some serious food as well, which doesn't hurt. So.
And so with these trips, we work with an outfitter there in Costa Rica, so it's not just me planning these trips. We work with local people there, and we're helping to support local businesses in the central part of the country. And it was just awesome. We walked away with lifelong friends from that trip, and getting to meet their families, their kids, and the businesses that they've started to help support their communities, which was a really good experience. So if you'd like, by all means, please join us. So.
Any questions? We have 4 minutes left, Pat?
We have all that.
Yeah.
Can you explain your fun tickets, how you use those?
Well, usually when you're starting to have to apply some psychological first aid, it's kind of a given that people are cashing in their fun tickets. It's just kind of a phrase that we like to throw around, and you can tell when somebody's maybe bonking a little bit or getting kind of cranky. It's like, are you ready to cash in your fun ticket? And they're like, yeah. So it's just kind of a cue for us to maybe ease up or pivot a little bit and make sure that everybody's comfortable. So.
Or take a break, sit on the, hit an eddy and relax for a little bit, maybe supply some chocolate.
So they bust out the chocolate or some hot chocolate or whatever the case may be.
Thank you.
Yeah, great question.
How much is that Costa Rica trip?
For, I think it's like 7 nights, 8 days, all private transportation, English speaking guides, lodging, meals included, all the activities. It's about $2,800. So,
Plus airfare.
plus airfare. Yeah. So.
And the guide company that we partnered with used to do REI adventures. REI was charging about twice what we do.
COVID really kind of changed it for them. They had been working with those larger outfitters for 15 plus years, and the owner said it just kind of got to not be fun anymore. So when COVID happened, it was kind of an opportunity to refresh and renew that passion that got them started in the first place. So now they reach out and work with a lot more small businesses, paddling clubs, and that kind of vibe to try and get people to come and explore their great area and learn more about their culture. So.
And I can paddle a class 3 pack raft in the middle of the winter after not having been in a boat for 3 months, and that was fun for me.
Yeah, so there were some days where Justin and I independently paddled with the rest of our group. Were in supported rafts, and then there were sections like when we paddled out from the Eco Lodge, it was more class 4 type features. That is a little bit above our skill set, so we just deflated the rafts, so the pack rafts, and hopped in the boats with the rest of our crew. So these trips can be very customizable. Like I said, we do multi-sport type things, so there's volcano hikes, there's cacao tours, coffee bean tours, just a number of different things that we can do. Mountain biking, so it doesn't all have to be paddling.
You don't have a skill level that's required for.
No, so like on our Costa Rica trip, we took my parents and a lifelong friend of my mom's with us. My mom and stepdad had really never done this before. And the Quarry Outdoor Center was very accommodating to all the different things that came up. Like my mom had just had knee surgery and a shoulder replaced about a year prior. So her going waterfall rappelling, not quite her speed. But she ended up hanging out with the local gardener and the executive chef at the Airbnb, and got to learn about all the different flora and fauna, and find out where the hummingbirds were making their nests and all sorts of different things. So they just accommodated her in that regard. And my stepdad, his back was not feeling it, like being stuck in the raft was kind of uncomfortable for him for a long period of time. So there was one day where they actually, he got to ride and get driven into the Eco Lodge. So it's not like we're totally remote, but for the most part we kind of are.
And on the paddle out, he got to be El Patron, and he didn't have to paddle at all. He just sat in
Just
the
had to
road
be
in
comfortable.
the raft and enjoyed the sun while Andrea and I and Louise, our guide, did all the work downriver. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you very much.